Okay, let's just jump right in. Think about it. You swipe through a dating app, you post a story, you hop on a work call. What's the one thing they all have in common? Filters. I mean, from a little skin smoothing to these crazy animated transformations, augmented reality filters are literally everywhere. They're all over TikTok, Instagram, and yeah, even built right into our professional video calls. It's kind of wild how they become this totally normal, almost invisible part of our digital lives.
And you know, this whole drive for digital perfection, it goes way beyond just our faces. Our feeds are just a constant stream of transformation, right? From the journey to get the perfect nail art to those dramatic glow-up videos. It's all part of the same thing, this culture of curating our ideal look, a nonstop project of self-improvement that filters are just one piece of.
And that leads to this whole culture of aspiration, like the whole "that girl" trend. You know the one, wake up at dawn, journal, drink your lemon water, do a 10-step skincare routine. It's this beautifully polished vision of life. And look, it can be super motivating, for sure, but it can also feel like this impossibly high bar to clear every single day. We're just surrounded by these picture-perfect versions of what life could or, should look like. Which really brings us to the big question we're tackling here. Of course, a dog-ear filter is fun, but when we are constantly, and I mean constantly, seeing these perfected, polished, and filtered versions of ourselves and everybody else, is there something deeper going on? Let's peel back the layers and find out.
So first, let's look inward. What is actually happening to our brains when we spend all day staring at a slightly better version of ourselves? And this isn't just about swiping through social media. It's about the very tools we use to connect with people every single day. At the core of this is a psychological idea called objective self-awareness. It's what happens when something makes you focus on yourself, like, seeing your reflection in a mirror. But in our digital world, video calls with that little self-view window turned on create what some researchers call an all-day mirror. This constant self-focus makes us hyper-aware of the gap between how we actually look and how we want to look.
And wow, this just perfectly captures the real-world feeling behind that theory. This quote from a Reddit user, it gets right to that raw fear of being seen, of being perceived without the safety net of a filter. It's this deep anxiety that maybe our actual self isn't quite good enough for the world, and it leads to a very real fear of being exposed. And look, this isn't just a feeling in our heads, it has real, tangible effects. Research into what we've all come to know and love as Zoom fatigue shows that having your camera on, constantly looking at your own face, it ramps up that self-attention and can lead to some pretty negative feelings. It is mentally exhausting to be performing for that all-day mirror, constantly checking if we measure up. Okay, so let's take that internal pressure and see what happens when we bring other people into the mix. If we're all out here presenting a filtered version of ourselves, what happens when it's time to actually meet someone face-to-face, especially in the wild world of online dating? To really get into this, a pretty fascinating study from Walton University did something super direct. They went and interviewed a bunch of guys who used Tinder about their first date experiences with women who used heavy filters on their profiles. They wanted to know what that moment of truth, that first in-person meeting, actually feels like. And you know what? These encounters are perfectly explained by a theory that actually comes from marketing, of all places. It's called expectation disconfirmation theory. Put simply, it just means our satisfaction with something depends entirely on the gap between what we expect and what we get. So when a dating profile sets a very high, heavily filtered expectation, the chance of disappointment on that first date goes way, way up. And the findings from that study were crystal clear. I mean, sure, a little bit of light filtering is kind of expected now because of social pressure, but when there were major differences between the online photos and the person who showed up, it led to immediate negative impressions. The guys in the study talked about feeling deceived, like their time was wasted, and that the initial physical attraction, which is so crucial for chemistry, was just gone instantly. This quote from one of the participants, man, it just hits home. It shows the real consequence here. The connection is over before it even has a chance to begin. That feeling of being misled, it creates a wall that's almost impossible to break down, no matter how great the conversation is. That sense of authenticity is just that important. So, we've talked about how we see ourselves, we've talked about dating letdowns, but what happens when this technology of digital alteration gets, well, supercharged? This is the point where fun filters evolve into a far more serious threat. So now we have to talk about deepfakes.
And according to the Department of Homeland Security, this isn't just fancy photo editing. This is using artificial intelligence to create entirely synthetic but completely believable media of things that never actually happened. It's a technology that can literally manufacture reality.
And it's really important to understand the difference here. What's called a cheap fake is a simple manipulation, like slowing down a video of someone to make them seem drunk. It's deceptive, yeah, but it uses basic tools. A deep fake is on a whole other level. It uses AI and machine learning to generate a brand new reality, and it requires some pretty sophisticated data and models to do it.
And please believe me, this is not some theoretical what-if danger. The case of Noelle Martin is a harrowing, real-world example. Her face was synthetically put into pornographic material without her consent. As she said herself, it was used as a weapon to harass her, to intimidate her, and to try to silence her. It just shows how deeply personal and damaging this technology can be.
And the threat just scales up from there. Beyond targeting individuals, deepfake tech can be used to create entire fake personas, to spread dangerous disinformation, to commit fraud, and even to threaten national security. We're talking about a tool that fundamentally challenges our ability to trust what we see and hear. Okay, I know, we've gone from fun little filters to some really serious, heavy threats. It can feel pretty overwhelming. But what's the way forward? The antidote to a world full of digital fakes might just be found in something profoundly human. Let's turn to the work of researcher Brené Brown. After years and years of studying human connection, she found the one thing that separates people who feel a deep sense of belonging from those who don't. It wasn't money, it wasn't fame, it was simply the belief that they were worthy of it. Just that. This core belief in our own worthiness is the absolute foundation of an authentic life. And being authentic isn't just some nice feel-good idea, you know? It has real, tangible benefits. According to PTS psychology, authentic people are more resilient. They don't get trapped in that endless comparison game we play online. They're less defensive, and they aren't constantly searching for approval from other people. To put it simply, authenticity is a form of personal power.
So, how do we get there? Well, the path to that authenticity is through vulnerability. And it is so crucial to understand that vulnerability is not weakness. It is the exact opposite. It's the courage to be open, to be honest, to show up without a filter, even when you know there's a risk of getting hurt. It is the only way to build true, deep connections.
So, we'll end with this question for you. As we all try to navigate this digital mirage, surrounded by curated, filtered, and sometimes completely made-up realities, it's worth taking a moment to think. In a world of filters, what does your authentic self look like? And what would it feel like to let the world see that person a little more often?